President Michaelis, we are ready to go live.
Thank you. It is 6:02 on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. I'm going to go ahead and call this regular school board meeting to order for the Anchorage School District. Happy New Year's to everybody. On Zoom, we have all 7 board members present, myself, Board Member Hildy, Board Member Holloman, Board Member Donley, Board Member Mitchell, Board Member Bellamy, and Board Member Marcette. Dr. Bishop and some of her staff is in the boardroom, and some are also joining us online as well. At this time, for the flag salute, I'd like to ask Board Member Bellamy if she could please assist us with this. Are you on mute, Margot?
My apologies. I am ready.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge with gratitude the Denali people, both past and present, who have lived on these lands since long before Anchorage was here. May we all be good stewards of these lands. Shannon. We want to welcome you to our meeting and thank you for attending and supporting the work of the Anchorage School District and this board. The mission of the Anchorage School District is educating all students for success in life. The board thanks students, parents, teachers, staff, school business partners, and the entire community for your investment in our district with your time, your talent, and your tax dollars. Next up is the approval of the agenda. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve our agenda as written.
Thank you. Did any board members have any additions or modifications or amendments that they wish to make at this time? Not hearing any. If there is no objection, I will take that as a unanimous consent of the agenda as is. Next up, we have a special section that we haven't done in quite some time, and we are all excited to do and participate in. It is the Denali Awards. And at this time, I would like to turn this over to Dr. Bishop to help us kick it off.
All right. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to our employees who are here in the boardroom. We are so happy to celebrate you this evening, and really we celebrate you all year long and appreciate your work. I will begin by sharing a little bit about the Denali Award. To Alaskans, Denali means great one, and the Anchorage School District is proud to have employees that display greatness in the areas of achievement, service, and dedication. This is the highest award that the Anchorage School District gives its employees. Twice each year, supervisors submit nominations and a panel of ASD employees, your peers, select a number of coworkers and teams of colleagues that demonstrate outstanding commitment to the district's mission of educating all students for success in life. Due to the constraints of COVID last spring, we were unable to give our spring awards. We generally give 3 a year. So I'm happy to present the spring awards as well as the fall awards, and we have 6 awards to be given this evening. So thank you to those at home. We have some awardees at home, some nominators at home, as well as some in the room. But we are so pleased to honor you this evening. I'd like to turn it over to our first award and our first board member, Mr. Holloman, who will present that award.
Thank you. This award goes to Dr. Celeste Long, a consummate professional during her 25-year tenure in the Anchorage School District. Chugach Optional Elementary School teacher, Dr. Long is unwavering in her commitment to students and families. As a primary teacher for Chugach, Dr. Wong spends much of her time dedicated to her students. They are always first in her eyes, and her attitude, words, and dedication reflect that vision. Dr. Wong's dedication continues in her virtual classroom, where her classes are rigorous, engaging, and kids feel connected in a new learning environment. One parent wrote, "My daughter, who is now in 6th grade, shared with me that Dr. Wong's class remains the one class she truly felt challenged to stretch as far as she can academically." Dr. Wong is celebrated as an ambassador for the teaching profession. She constantly pushes her boundaries, reflecting her commitment as a lifelong learner. Chugach Optional Principal Dr. Claire Hill commended Dr. Wong for her tireless work and great dedication to the education profession. Quote, "Children are always first in the eyes of Dr. Wong. Her attitude, words, and dedication reflect that vision. Her passion is in the classroom and staying connected to children as their teacher," quote, Hill said. Dr. Wong continues to set the bar high at Chugach Optional by being invaluable to her students. One student said of Dr. Wong, quote, "Out of all the teachers I had, she was the one that challenged me the most and encouraged me to learn. The impact she had on me and other students is enormous. She set me off to such a great start on my learning and did the same for so many others," quote. In a letter written of support, one parent wrote, quote, "In a very small amount of time, she's been able to get my son to be present for his Zoom classes, but to be a participant and be an in-charge learner. Watching her facilitate on-one dialogue with class is nothing short of amazing," quote. The administration invites the board to join in recognizing Dr. Wong as a Denali Award winner for the example of excellence that she sets for the entire Anchorage School District community. Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Yay, Dr. Long. Thank you. And Celeste, we would like to offer you, if you'd like to unmute, if you would like to say a few words, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I really feel honored and grateful for this recognition. This is my 26th year as a teacher in the Anchorage School District, and I'm a product of the school district. I am proud to be a member of the ASD staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Long. And your principal is online. Dr. Hill, would you like to say a few words as well?
Yeah, thank you. So I met Celeste when I was a very young teacher at Muldoon, and I always envied her. And most of her career has been in Title I schools. And an opportunity came up where she could teach at Chugach. And so she's, this is her second year there, but Celeste is somebody I admire in so many ways. And she, as a colleague and now as a learner with her, and she's definitely deserving of this award and has given her life to education. So I just want to congratulate you, Celeste. It's a well-earned award, and I'm proud to work alongside you.
Awesome. And I just want to add that it's very difficult to meet everyone and know them a little bit more personally, but Dr. Long, in I think 4 different school visits, and this is a testament to her always challenging herself, which is something that she said that she does to her students, that she challenges them. I met her at a summer school in this wonderful outfit, teaching kids to sing and dance. I visited her after we had the earthquake, when her whole classroom was transitioned to another school from Eagle River, I think, to Birchwood. And then I saw you at Chugach. So she definitely is active around our district and cares about the communities in which she works, and continues to challenge herself after 26 years to continue to learn and advance her career in ASD as an educator. So thank you so much. Once again, let's congratulate Dr. Long.
Should I go ahead and jump in?
Given by Member Mitchell.
Okay. The next recipient of the Denali Award is Heather Fleming. Mears Middle School librarian Heather Fleming has served Mears for 15 years, promoting literacy, serving the community, and bringing positive energy and innovative ideas. Ms. Fleming goes above and beyond her position to provide a safe, engaging, and inviting space for students, staff, and community members. Her help developing Panther Camp, a transitional support program for incoming 7th graders, is a shining example of her organizational leadership. Her supervisor, Principal Eric Backman, said Ms. Fleming is the glue that helps bind our school community together, especially during these days of separation and remote instruction. She is a tremendous asset to Mears school culture and student achievement, and this impact is evident throughout our school community. Ms. Fleming continues to dedicate substantial time and effort to ensure the success of the Mears Library and her fellow district librarians, developing study groups to enhance their skills. Her work on the Mears leadership team often introduces new professional development opportunities to staff. Beyond her dedication to students and other librarians, Ms. Fleming provides critical technical support for Mears teachers. She regularly attends technology trainings and brings Mears the latest educational programs and implements new tech-savvy strategies, all while executing her responsibilities as a librarian to 750 students. Numerous teachers shared their support, with one saying, "Since the pandemic, Ms. Fleming has continued an online version of her book club, and she designed an online book checkout system where students can request books from the library. She serves as a leader in our school, filling a variety of valuable roles, and she performs them to the highest standards." The administration invites the board to join in recognizing Heather Fleming as a Denali Award winner for the example of excellence she sets for the entire Anchorage School District community. Congratulations, Heather.
Congratulations, Heather. And she's here in the room with us and holding her award. And we're going to get a picture. And for those of you who your camera is too far away, those are not stripes on her mask. That is a fancy library mask with books on it. So if you, just in case you needed to know. So the dedication is there. All right. Thank you. Congratulations, Heather. And your principal is online and would also like to share a few words. Mr. Beckman.
All right. Hey, thanks everyone. I appreciate the invitation. Heather, congratulations. It's great to see you there with Dr. Bishop and the board. And Dina Mitchell, thank you for such a great introduction to Heather and her incredible contributions to Mears and to ASD. I would only add to that long list of accolades the role that Ms. Fleming plays as a champion of inclusion at our school, and the important place that the library at Mears and of course libraries everywhere play in welcoming people in who might otherwise not have a place to go. And at Mears, Ms. Fleming curates a library that is open, that is inclusive, that is welcoming for kids who aren't so popular sometimes or not super socially adept. And that is an amazingly important contribution. And of course, Heather, and I say this as an educator now, I think this is my 24th year. Heather may be the best collaborator I've ever worked with. And by that, I mean, when you work with her, you're better at your job and you shine. And that's what she does for all of us at Mears. The students, the teachers, the staff, and the families who get to work with her. We're all better off, we do better work, and we shine as a result of being in her proximity. She's a wonderful nominee for this award, and I'm so proud of you, Heather, as are all of us at Mears. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Beckman. And Heather, we would also like you to say a few words, put you on the spot, and thank you for running such a wonderful hub of learning at the library at Mears.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored that my supervisor and my staff nominated me for this award, and winning it is spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. And the next awardee, who is also in the room, Miss Brenda Evans, please come forward. And would Principal Helvey like to stand right next to her? We'd like to give you your award. And speaking this evening about Brenda and her work is member Marcette. So congratulations. And we will hear about you, and we could still watch it up there. There we go.
Brenda, it's my honor to introduce another outstanding individual receiving the Denali Award. And Brenda Evans, known to her student for being thoughtful, kind, and humble, Eagle River High School cafeteria manager Brenda Evans is recognized for encouraging support to students and her dedication to the Eagle River community. Miss Evans excels at fostering positive relationships every day with her students. A recent survey asked Eagle River High School students which staff they felt connected to and cared by, and an overwhelming number of respondents identified Miss Evans as that person who cared for them and improved their sense of well-being. We all know that she does an amazing job, works hard, and is internally positive, but it was heartwarming to see so many students recognize that as well. Many kids noted that she saw them as a real people, always made sure they were fed, and when they were absent, she was the person who noticed and followed up with them upon their return, said one Eagle River High School staff member. Interactions in the cafeteria are brief, but they can make a lasting and influential difference in a student's day-to-day life. The kindness and attention that Miss Evans shows her students also reaches out and impacts families. Brenda has changed the way my daughter sees school. She has always been shy, but Brenda helped change that. During her freshman year, she ordered a sandwich and didn't think much about it. When she returned a few days later, Brenda not only remembered her name, but also her order, explained one Eagle River High School parent. From that point forward, her near daily interaction with Brenda has changed her confidence and attitude about school. The administration invites the board to join in recognizing Brenda Evans as a Denali Award winner for the example of excellence she sets for the entire school district. Brenda, you are what makes ASD great.
Woohoo! Thank you, Brenda. And I'll give you an elbow. Congratulations. And Principal Helvey, what would you like to say about Brenda?
Well, I'll say everything that was in there is absolutely true. Brenda is just a part of our team that, you know, we talk about beginning of the year that everybody's part of the team, including everybody from our kitchen staff to our BPO to everybody. And she has really stepped up to fill that role. But what I really love about her is how she gets to know the students. And whenever there's a student that's really hurting or needing help, she'll show up in my office and say, Mr. Helvey, it just hurts me. It just hurts me deeply that we have a student that needs this or needs that. And we find help. We find ways to do it. So she is on the front line. She knows all the students and everything that needs to know about them. And we just really appreciate that. I look back, well, this is my 30th year that I've been out of school. And I look back to think if I can remember any of the cafeteria staff that was in there when I was at school. And I remember because my mom worked in the cafeteria, so I have to remember that. But I know 10, 15 years from now that a lot of our students in Eagle River are going to know Brenda. They're going to remember her. So that just says a lot for her.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Brenda, the mic is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel so honored. I can't thank Tim and the staff at Eagle River High School. I am so proud to work for ASD. Thank you.
You brought tears to my eyes. Happy tears. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And our next awardee, who is also in the room, taking the seat as far back as he can get from the front, is Mr. Rob Holland. Please come forward, as well as Mr. Roth. And Member Bellamy will begin to speak about Rob Holland and his work and dedication to ASD.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. I am honored to acknowledge and recognize our next recipient, Mr. Rob Holland. As our Director of Maintenance and Operations, Rob conducts a lot of his work behind the scenes, often unnoticed. Mr. Holland readily and efficiently assumed the leading role of preparing school buildings to receive staff and students, in addition to performing his primary duties, ensuring district-wide cleanliness and sanitation. Holland recognized the need to procure disinfectant during the district closure. While keeping costs down, he needed a different game plan after realizing that most options were cost prohibitive and not sustainable in the long term. With minimal guidance, he researched and recommended the district purchase machinery to make vast quantities of disinfectant in-house at a fraction of the cost of purchasing it elsewhere. Rob's vision will literally save the district thousands of dollars over the next several years. His innovation and strategic thinking maximize the best outcome while effectively operating within a very limited budget. And that is a quote from our Senior Director of Maintenance and Operations, Darren Hargraves. Described by his peers as a consummate professional and role model, Mr. Holland has helped the district attain unprecedented cleanliness standards during his 3 years as an employee. This is another quote, to his core, Rob subscribes to achieving excellence in everything he does. And that is from Tom Roth, our Chief Operating Officer. His attitude, attention to detail, and leadership permeate through his department. The administration invites the board to join in recognizing Rob Holland as a Denali Award winner for the example of excellence he sets for the entire Anchorage School District community. Thank you, Rob, and congratulations.
Mr. Roth, would you like to add a few words?
I would love to. So Rob, I just have to tell you, you're a rock star. Having had the pleasure of working with you here the last several years. Rob really is all about excellence. He is without question an expert in his field, sought after expert. But I think what impresses me most about Rob is that it's about his people. He's a great leader. He leads by example. He does what he asks people to do. He's always out there on a weekend, middle of the night, wherever his guys are, he's there. I just also want to recognize, Rob, we had an earthquake here a couple of years ago, and we were able to get our kids back into almost all of our schools in 10 days. And that is in no small measure due to Rob's leadership and his custodian team, with all the help of this district, that he really set that tone, that it was all about getting our kids and our staff back into buildings. And then he's truly been integral to this effort here over the last couple of months to return our staff and our students to school buildings safely. So Rob, it's a real humble honor for me to work with you. Thank you for everything you do. And I'm thrilled that you're being recognized for this award. Thanks.
Rob, your direct supervisor is also online, Mr. Darren Hargraves, who would like to say a few words as well. And I just want to let everyone know that not only did, Rob, you save us money in making our own sanitation, that like your personality that permeates, it permeates those COVID viruses, but the fire department, as well as other districts around the state, are now sourced with the same substance and saving money as well. So your work in ASD is really shared around the state and in other entities as well. So we thank you for that. And Mr. Hargraves.
Well, thank you very much. I tell you, I can't think of a person that's more deserving in this than Rob Holland. I've had the honor of knowing Rob for about 20 years, and I'm privileged to work with him here at Anchorage School District. Rob is a focused, critical thinker who works tirelessly to find solutions to current problems, as we've heard. And he's, and regardless of how difficult these problems are, he finds solutions to the problem. And anyway, it's great working with you, Rob. You're a deserving person for this. I can't think of anybody else that has dedicated themselves, taken the phone calls late at night. I mean, you're a trooper. So congratulations.
And Rob, You don't say much, but this evening we want you to talk. Please share your wisdom with us.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really wish I could thank every single person by name that I work with. It's never been such an honor in my life than that I get to come to work every day with the people I work with. And that means more to me than anything. It's just been amazing. And I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Also in the room, we have a dynamic duo admin team. Please come forward, Anina and Karen. And Member Donley will share words on this dynamic duo.
Ptarmigan Team, Administrative Duo. The Ptarmigan Elementary School's Administrative Support Team of Mrs. Anina Feliz Faganamnami and Mrs. Karen Johnson are known as knowledgeable and compassionate mentors. Parents and staff describe Johnson and Feliz Faganamnami as the dream team and the dynamic duo of Ptarmigan. Ptarmigan Principal Kelly Ramley is proud of how her administrative team works together to support families, staff, students, saying, "The working relationship of the front office is vital to a school's success. Each of them takes the time to understand a parent's needs and get the help they're looking for in a timely manner. It's a great honor that I get to work with these two ladies." Many students wrote letters of support. One student said of both, "They always help me, other students, and especially adults and teachers. I respect them like a teacher." Mrs. Johnson's joyful laugh and Mrs. Feliz Faganami's thoughtfulness and kindness are hard to miss and are often the first interactions people have when arriving in the morning. Despite 400 students at the school, they both dedicate themselves to knowing students' names, their families, and their special circumstances. The connection to students and their homes is noticed by families. One parent said, "They feel like your own family. They know the students and parents in the school and treat each of them as though they are the most important thing." Karen will stop what she is doing to help a student who is having a rough day. Anina will walk students to their class when it looks like they need help. I don't know two people more deserving of recognition. The administration invites the board to join in recognizing Anina Feliz Faganamnami and Karen Johnson, Denali Award winners, for examples of excellence that they set for the entire Anchorage School District community.
Congratulations. All right. Thank you so much. And we're going to get our picture taken. And growing up, I had a big, long Polish name with about 14 letters, but it sounds easier than it's spelled. But when people say it's Bilecki, but they didn't understand it. So you have to help us with your name because that's the biggest respect we can give. Like instead of children's names, please help us with your name. How do you say it? We'll give you this mic. Anita, go ahead.
Felicia Fuamomi.
Felicia
Fuamomi.
Felicia Fuamomi. I'll work on that. So thank you so much. And your principal, Rami, is online and would love to say a few words.
Well, congratulations, Anina and Karen. Customer service is the cornerstone of what ASD wants to provide to our community. And Karen and Anina do just this with such a high standard. They both take time to listen to parents, community members that call in, students and staff. So I don't know, I truly would not be where I am and be as successful as I feel I am at Ptarmigan without these two ladies. Our school has a better culture and climate because of the hard work that these two do. So thank you, Karen and Anina, for everything you do behind the scenes that on a moment's notice looks orchestrated for a long time.
And a key word was behind the scenes, which a lot of people like to be, but this evening you're not. And we would love to hear from both of you. So, Anina, what can we share? Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you'd like, or.
Right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. When I was told of this award, I'm very speechless as a proud member of ASD, and I could have not done it with my partner, as you all described. So I thank you, and especially to my principal, assistant principal, and staff, and for you and all of you for your support. I'm honored. Thank you, ASD.
All right. We'll practice good thing and safety. Rob, you checking that out? We're being good with that. There you go.
Okay. These are tears of joy, by the way. I just would like to say that we couldn't have done this without the Ptarmigan staff, the teachers, the administration, our students, their families, our families and friends. Together we make an extraordinary team. So
You certainly do. Thank you so much. And many of you noticed. And Mr. Donnelly, thank you. We gave you the toughest names and you did so well. Good job. Thank you so much. And our last award this evening goes to a big team. Could the IT team, the field service team, please come forward? Some of you are at home. Some of you are in-house. Come on up. And we have individual certs, and then we have one big one. So I think Santa should hold the award. If any of you saw the news with Santa delivering candy through the chute, oh, I hope children aren't watching. Sorry. This is Santa's helper right here. All right. So with that, our board president, Elisa Michaelis, please share those words with us.
Thank you. It is my honor to congratulate the Information Technology Field Services team. The size of the Anchorage School District demands a large information technology team to accomplish its mission with minimal disruption or downtime. During the district's closure and response plan, all 40 team members were vital to ensuring a smooth and successful transition to virtual classes, all while continuing staff and teacher tech support. After district staff were set up for remote work, Chromebook distribution was the next big hurdle. The team physically sanitized and inventoried over 10,000 devices across 100 sites in the span of 3 weeks to ensure schools were ready for distribution in the spring. The spring rollout was no small feat, but it was dwarfed by the speed and efficiency of the fall distribution. An additional 11,000 devices were distributed over 8 days, doubling the goal of 5,000. Field Services Supervisor Calvin Ross said of the effort, "This team performed a Herculean act on behalf of our students and staff members. The team worked 6 days a week with over 10-hour days, 2 weeks straight. The work done by IT Field Services is like a constant drumbeat. The employees and their work fly under the radar, out of the spotlight. It is a team who work tirelessly to advance the district mantra of educating all students for success in life." This was recognized in many letters from staff. One special education teacher wrote, "It has only recently occurred to me that in the many years I have interacted with the IT team, they have never shared their own achievements. They seek no fanfare, only the opportunity to serve, teach, and recognize the success of others around them." A secondary teacher echoed that sentiment, saying, "In this time of crisis and uncertainty, it is important to recognize the amazing teamwork that is going on behind the scenes to keep Anchorage School District staff and students moving forward in the learning process." The administration invites the board to join in recognizing the IT Field Services team as Denali Award winners for the example of excellence they set for the entire Anchorage School District community. Congratulations.
Woo! All right. And Calvin, I think, is going to add some words about your team.
Thank you guys. I just, to share with, we're technicians, we don't really appreciate the spotlight typically. However, this team, whenever a challenge arose, it was simply what comes next. When COVID first started, we weren't necessarily sure what was going to be required and how quickly we'd be able to get students back into classroom. But it very quickly became apparent in the spring that that wasn't going to happen. And so when that challenge arose, we knew that, well, we need to do some form of education. And so with that, this team, everything from moving our operations from our Kennedy Center to physically within this building to the Ed Center within a day, to tireless times running around the district in hot buildings, sanitizing devices, and then finally this fall when we were able to get devices out on buses for students and physically meet them at their homes, typically with a device. It was the effort of this team that really allowed that to happen. And so I'm honored and thankful for the work that you do, and just happy every day. I really, when we have our daily staff meetings, it's just a joy to see these folks and what they do for our district and for our community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And there's a book called The Invisibles, and it's about the people who really make things really run, but we really don't know it. And a lot of our awardees tonight, from our IT professionals to our office staff and our librarians and our teachers and our lunch professionals, we know that ASD and serving kids could not operate without you. So you're not invisible. Would you like to speak first? Which one? Everybody's going to look down. Come on. Good teaching just says we pick someone. So there you go. Be ready all the time. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, gosh, I didn't think I'd have to say anything. I figured it was all going to be up to Calvin. So I guess I'm just going to say that I am really pleased and honored and grateful and appreciative that I get to work with so many people every day that really care about what they do. And like you need to do something and it just happens and away they go, and there's no fear of not being able to do it. They just go for it. And so I'm really pleased that I work with so many people like that. It's really special. And I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to touch my community and serve my students in a more direct way than I usually do.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And many of our technicians, some of them standing here, have helped me as well. And you haven't made me feel badly about my lack of knowledge. So thank you so much. I'm truly honored as the superintendent and along with the school board to honor such great people in our district.
And Dr. Bishop, it's not a cliche when we say, what do we say? You make ASD great.
Great. Like Tony the Tiger. Honestly.
Yes. At this time, I would like to invite all board members, all of our administrative staff that are on video to, please come on video with us and just give one last final round of applause to everybody in the room, online. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Love it.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you. Thank you. Honored to work with you. President Michaelis, it's back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next up on our agenda, our community engagement section and our military report. And I believe I saw him with us tonight, Colonel Jason Delamater.
Thank you, Ms. Michaelis. You guys hear me okay?
We sure can. Thank you for joining us tonight.
You bet. Happy 2021 to everybody. It's great to start off the school board meeting, giving out some hardware to some well-deserving folks. So congratulations to all of our award winners. I know the folks here on JBEAR are probably customers, a lot of the service of the folks that you recognize today. So that's fantastic. I've got 4 quick items I want to share with the board today, 2 on behalf of our school liaison, and then 2 from the installation. So to start off, just want to let the team know that we've got our JBEAR school principals are working very closely with our on-base school age program directors on getting ready for transportation plans on, the 19th January. We hope that sticks in good to make sure we get our kids back to school on time and in a good space. The second item is that over the holidays, we still had families showing up here for new assignments, and they've been working really hard on getting connected with the faculty and staff at the schools that their kids are going to be enrolled in. A lot of them are still in quarantine because of the rules and are living in temporary lodging locations. But one thing we have found is that the schools have been very responsive in helping these parents and these families get connected. So we want to thank the school district for that as well. Two quick items I want to talk to you related to COVID on how things are going with the installation. So the J-Bear is still under health protection condition Charlie, and we still are currently under a public health emergency. Now, the public health emergency is currently set to expire on Thursday, the 7th of January. And we expect the installation leadership are doing a lot of work right now to kind of assess current conditions to see if we're going to allow that to expire or if we're going to need to extend that again a little further. So I fully expect that Colonel Aguilar and her team will probably make an announcement as early as we hope on what the plans are going to be with the public health emergency. And then the last item I want to talk to is just the fact that we are seeing vaccines showing up in the state of Alaska. And it also means that we're seeing our share of those for the installation. And just as what we're seeing with the implementation plans in the municipality and in the state, the early priority for those vaccines are going to who you would expect it would be on the base, which would be our frontline healthcare workers, our first responders, and folks like that. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, on the J-Bear Facebook page, our PA team did a great video where they've actually gone and shot some footage of some of our folks actually getting their vaccines and kind of talking through why they think it's important and how it helps them in their duties. So I encourage folks to check that out. Pending any questions, that's all I've got for the board tonight, but I'll stand by if there are questions.
Thank you so very much. Did any board members have any questions at this time? All right, not seeing any. So thank you very much for joining us tonight and Happy New Year. We look forward to, working with you in the future.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Next up is our board conference and committee reports. I don't believe anybody has met since our last meeting, but if we'll just do our circle run and just have folks update when their next meetings are for the community, that would be wonderful. I'll start with Chair Marcette of Finance.
Thank you, President Michaelis. As I stated before, I kind of gave our board meetings or our finance committee meetings are right before the board meeting, and our next one is going to be the 19th of January, and then after that, we are going to be moving it to a different date. So at our next board meeting, I will let everyone know when our next finance committee meeting will be in February.
Thank you. And Chair Bellamy for communications. Still on mute.
I'm having trouble with the mic tonight. I apologize. So yes, our last meeting, we have not met since our December meeting. Our next meeting is next week on the 12th from 3:30 to 4:30. And this week we are planning on Friday to have our virtual legislative luncheon without food, of course, but good company. And that information will be on the website for the members of the public who might be interested. So our next meeting is next Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30, I think. No, I think that's it. I don't have it in front of me.
Thank you very much. And Chair Hildy for governance.
Thank you. We had an extra meeting in December to go over just our 6,000 policy reviews. That was on the 19th. And some board members had indicated they might have a few others they might want to review. So just send them in. You can send it at any time, but certainly the 6,000, this would be the time to take a look at it. And our next meeting will be on the 12th at 3:30 to 4:30.
So my correction is we will be after the governance committee, 4:30 to 5:30.
Perfect. Thank you. Community outreach. Any good community council meetings that folks have been attending? I know a lot of community council meetings got kind of compressed in the middle of December, and or some just took it off. But did anybody go out into the council meetings and, have anything that they wanted to share at this time? All right, Miss Margot.
Yeah, I think I don't know that there's anything. I think one of the things that's interesting for me has to do with the legislative reports that the bills that are going to be coming forward this session. And so that was very interesting. A lot of several councils did not meet at all because of Christmas. Those that did meet, had really good conversations around school opening, as well as I absolutely enjoy hearing the legislative plans and lots of assembly updates. So it's not that I don't have anything to report. It's just that it was Christmas and people were like otherwise preoccupied. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, not seeing any other hands, we'll go ahead and move on in the agenda. Next up is public testimony. I'll go ahead and read a brief-ish statement. The board welcomes public comment on non-agenda and non-action items. We value public comment as it ensures that we remain aware of public thoughts, ideas, and concerns, and informs our decision-making process. The school board encourages anyone wishing to provide public testimony to sign up in advance for in-person or telephonic testimony, or to email written comments by 2 p.m. the day of the meeting. These comments will become part of the meeting record. There is a 1-hour time slot at the beginning of the meeting. Testimony in excess of 1 hour will be heard at the end of the meeting or may be submitted in writing. If you have signed up in advance for in-person or telephonic testimony, you will be called on in the order in which you were signed up. You will have 3 minutes to testify. When 30 seconds remain, a chime will ring to inform you so that you can finish your sentence. Additionally, it is not our practice that board members answer questions or engage in discussion with members of the public. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. The board will consider all information shared by the public, and when deemed necessary, issues raised in testimony will be referred to the administration for follow-up. We have, by looking at my list, I have 20 people. That will take up our whole hour. So we will start with speaker number 1 on the telephone, Mr. Daniel Kemp. Daniel, are you on the line with us tonight?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes
All right.
and the floor is yours.
Good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Daniel Kemp. I'm a retired Army Combat Officer, teacher in the ASD, co-chair of the Alaska Black Caucus Education Committee, and parent of ASD students. I'm here to voice my opposition to reopening in-person learning and postponing it and focusing our effort on equitable online learning until a vaccine is widely available. For the life of me, I really cannot figure out whose interest this board is serving by reopening classrooms. Is it Governor Dunleavy's? Rich parents? Is it the virus itself? Wealthy campaign donors and special interest groups? I don't know. All I can tell you is what interest you're not serving, and that's the families who are the most vulnerable to the coronavirus. You are sending students and families that are the most vulnerable directly into harm's way, and you know it. You wouldn't send students and teachers back into a burning building, would you? Of course not. You'd wait until the fire was out and safe to go back in. So why are you doing it now? You're basically forcing our teachers and children back into a building while it's still on fire. What is the solution you proposed? Send them back in with inadequate protection? Even if they had adequate equipment, you're still sending them back into a burning building. We could just focus on equitable online learning and wait until folks get fireproofed, i.e. vaccinated. But you would rather listen to special interest in folks who say they can no longer wait to get back into school. That's still on fire, I might add. I implore you to not send us back into an environment burning with COVID. It is unethical and immoral, and our children, teachers, and communities deserve better. According to an article recently published, in the Atlantic and Reuters, 217 districts across 30 states. About half of those reported significant staffing issues. And this was all before Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and the advent of a new and dangerously more contagious strain of the coronavirus currently running rampant across the United States and around the world. Now, for the past 6 months, this board has been on a mission to reopen classrooms despite the apparent dangers it poses. We have warned you about this time and again, including tonight, but it's like you're not listening at all. So let me speak to those you may care about listening to, your voting constituency. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, the school board is not working for the best interest of our children or you. It is working in the best interest of the coronavirus. Did you know that the ASD currently does not have enough substitutes to cover for all the teachers who will get sick from COVID? The board members knew. They also know that school bus drivers, janitors, and staff will get sick and or quarantine from COVID, but have no plan on making up for those personnel shortages. They just want to open up as soon as possible. Well, our children deserve better. They need consistency in order to learn, not a stop and start schedule, which is exactly what you'll give them if we continue on this path. I tell you who would love that kind of schedule, though, who would just eat it up, the virus.
Mr. Kim?
So I'm telling you not to forget the dangers, I understand, of our school board has placed us in. Remember how they ignored your cries of danger and warning. Remember each member who voted to put our community in harm's way.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Your time is up.
Thank you. Speaker number 2 is not with us. If he shows up before we get to number 20, we'll go ahead and get him in. Otherwise, he may end up rescheduling for another meeting. Speaker number 3, Andrea Gardner, in person. And I believe she's walking up to the podium there. As soon as she... All right, I can't quite see you from the... Oh, there we go. Thank you for joining us tonight. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Gardner. I am an ASD teacher and parent. Einstein wrote, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." You have all done a heroic job this school year so far. You have made incredibly difficult choices, and in doing so, you have kept our children safe and undoubtedly saved hundreds of lives in our community. Thank you. This school year, this pandemic school year, is not one for climbing trees. It was and continues to be a year for swimming. We cannot measure this pandemic against any other school year. If we use the constructed achievement measures of the past to define whether or not we have been successful this year, then I assure you this district will be deemed a failure. Yet that's not true. When we cast aside our past expectations for climbing trees and remind ourselves that this year is unlike any other, we can see the successes of the school year thus far. There has been unprecedented new learning, unique opportunities for connection, and widespread resilience and grit. Far more important than that, you have prioritized student and staff lives above all else. And for that, I will be forever grateful. When I was in 6th grade, a student was killed in my classroom. Her name was Alicia Pinard. She died when a bookcase in our classroom crushed her. We didn't just process our grieving and return to life as normal. Her death reordered our world. And in an instant, that school year became about a different kind of learning entirely. If schools reopen now, there will be members of our ASD community who contract COVID at school. And in all likelihood, there will be deaths. Someone's mom will die because you felt it unfair that bars remained opened in our community. Someone's child will die because you deemed it critical that our youngest students not fall behind arbitrary academic benchmarks that you yourselves defined. Have you considered how many COVID deaths you're okay with in our district? Please don't allow short-sighted pressures to inform long-term decisions. Please don't be comfortable with the inevitability that COVID will spread in our schools. I adore my amazing students, and I cannot truthfully assure their families of my ability to keep them safe. I spent the past 7 years of my life trying to overcome the crippling setbacks of having a chronic and degenerative joint condition in my efforts to get back to the job that I love. It is horribly ironic that my triumphant comeback is this year. I will not walk headlong into this pandemic, and I will not return to my classroom until I have been vaccinated. Even if I were to receive my first dose tomorrow, which is not an option, I would not have immunity until March 17th. Please wait. The vaccines are on their way, and you have done such a courageous job guiding us through this year of swimming. Now is not the time to turn your laser focus on forcing us up into the trees.
Next up is speaker number 4 on the telephone, Alex Lum. Alex, are you on the line with us tonight?
Yes, can you hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, Superintendent Bishop and school board members, for all the work you're doing to support the education of Anchorage students. My name is Alex Blum. I'm an Anchorage resident, and I'm here to express my concern about the January 19th date for reopening in-person learning. I'm concerned that this plan doesn't account for the way that it will harm communities of color, and it will disproportionately harm communities of color. Children and adults of color have already been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. They've been more likely to catch it and die from it because than their white peers because of all kinds of history and present racial injustice that we don't have time to get into. But what all that means is that students of color and their families, if they go back in person, they'll be assuming much greater risk than their white peers in a way that is not fair, just, or equitable. And because families of color understand this, they're less likely to send their kids back in for in-person education. And this January 19th reopening is going to lead to a segregated school experience. With students of color learning online and white students learning in person, it's going to be separate but unequal treatment. Instead, all students should continue to learn online, and the online experience should be improved accordingly so that it works well for all Anchorage students. I'm also concerned about the timing of this reopening, falling so closely on the Christmas and New Year's holidays. We saw a spike after Thanksgiving as people traveled and visited each other, and we're about to see another one right as schools will be reopening or would be reopening. In addition, the new variant of COVID-19 appears to be more contagious. It's no longer safe to think that the risks to kids would be the same. Traveled from England to New York to California. If it's not in our community now, it will be by January 19th. We just don't know what all the risks of this new version of COVID-19 are going to be. For all of those reasons, I urge you to wait on reopening in-person education until it can be done equitably, safely, and with the information you need. Thank you for your time and for considering the testimony.
Thank you. Next up, speaker number 5 in person, if she is there, Rosalind Grady Weiss.
President Michaelis, Rosalind has switched over to telephonic, and I do believe that she's on the line.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank
Hello?
you. Hi, Rosalind, we can hear you. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm a parent and an educator. I pray my voice is being heard. A co-chair of the Education Committee in the Alaska Black Caucus as well. I have 5 children, 3 preschoolers, and 2 junior high schoolers, all in the Anchorage School District program. I don't know how many of you guys can say your kids are actually in school right now. Well, none of mine are going back to in-person school. I have had several deaths in my family and close circle of friends, as well as my own mother nearly dying because of COVID. I will not take that chance because of you all. Well, 4.5 of you feel politically pressured, in my opinion. Your social media likes ultimately show that. I am in opposition of opening schools, as you can tell. But let's start having real courageous conversations of that matter for our children. What are we doing as a district, as parents, as supporters of our children? Why are we rushing to get back into a building to restart the whole school year? Has anybody thought about the children that may return to school and they haven't been to school at all the whole semester? What's the answer for those kids? What are we doing with these assessments? Do they really make sense? Are you just using it for negative impact conversations? Why are we allowing a pacing guide dedicated to a runaway train style of teaching? These are the conversations that should have been had as a whole. What were the qualifications for all these different committees and the people that were in them? Because as a parent and educator, I would have loved to have given my input, but I was never asked what my opinion was. Why are we not talking about the tier 1 and tier 2 teachers not setting the school district expectations while we are online learning? I thought the mission of the Anchorage School District is to educate all students for success in life. The importance of competent and professional staff in achieving this mission is essential. Are we really being essential, or are we running a political agenda that is what is best for our children is really not the agenda, it is what is best for some of these adults, most. We're not focused on equity, whether we're talking about educators of color, children of color, or academic disabilities when it comes to learning. Distance learning should have been the most important process of what we have been going through during this pandemic. But it seems like everybody is too darn focused on getting into a classroom and into a building. When are we going to start holding these teachers accountable with all the learning that they need to be to learn to successfully educate our children through this pandemic? Why are we opening schools and the city has only begun to now vaccinate the seniors in Alaska and not teachers, and there's no vaccination at all for children? You are willing to further traumatize children instead of meeting them where they are at. The thought of servicing children, hiding behind that, are we hiding behind our opinions and how we feel? Please rethink about opening schools as well as allowing employees to intermingle, to set up classrooms when Christmas break and New Year's was literally just 2 weeks ago, if that. There are more courageous conversations to be had. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is speaker number 6, Jared Gardner. And I don't actually see him on the line, so I will watch for him. Speaker number 7, Kayla Page. Kayla, are you on the line with us tonight?
Can you hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm a kindergarten teacher in the Anchorage School District. I'm here to oppose the opening of school buildings at this time. I feel very unsafe having school staff and students re-enter the schools. We've heard about tutoring groups, and these are small groups compared to a regular classroom, only up to 10 students per teacher. So this is not the average school size, or class size, I'm sorry. Taking care of the needs of 10 students versus 25 students is very different. Mitigation strategies for 10 students or less versus 25 students is very, very different. I'm also having a really hard time understanding plans for reentry when we know we have a vaccine now. Why are we considering forcing school staff who are at all different risk levels back into school buildings where this virus will most certainly spread? Wouldn't the logical and ethical thing to do be to, at the very least, wait until all school staff have had the opportunity to get both doses of the vaccine if they wanted to? Before, I use the word forcing, and I want to clarify what I mean by this. I've heard many times that teachers who feel unsafe have options, and this is untrue. I know of teachers who have serious health concerns, who have tried to apply for medical leave and have been denied. If you're a teacher and you feel unsafe about returning face-to-face, if you don't want to risk your life or the lives of your family or your children, your only option is to really resign. And this is heartbreaking. My school has just lost another teacher to resignation. This is all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up is speaker number 8, Mary Richards. Mary, are you on the line tonight?
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. First of all, I hope everyone had a restful holiday. I know we all needed it. I really do appreciate everything that everyone is doing. I know everyone is trying to do the very best they can. My name is Mary Richards. I come to you tonight smack dab in the center of the region we call Chuyak and Eagle River, home of the Denali and Akutna people. I'm a mother of a child in our district. I'm a veteran teacher. I'm here as a proud member of our teacher union. I'm also here tonight as a member of the Alaska Black Caucus. because I have been so inspired and moved by their school board testimonies all year. The prominent narrative that we are ready to go back to school and that everyone is safe is ringing loud and clear. I'm here to keep ringing a different bell. Many teachers are feeling despair right now. They are feeling defeated and like it is no use to voice their concerns any longer about safety and well-being. They feel diminished and invisible. I'm here to elevate their voices. I'm here to bear witness. The district narrative that is being sent out to families is false. We know everyone is not going to be safe. I feel we do a great disservice to the community and more importantly to our children when we paint a fake smile on and pretend everything is okay. It isn't. Teachers and staff don't feel safe right now speaking about their concerns surrounding safety and well-being. The fact that teacher safety and well-being has not been legitimately acknowledged in board conversations about opening schools as of late is heartbreaking. Our children will never be safe in a system that intimidates teachers into despair and silence. Our children will never really feel safe in a system that forces teachers back into the classroom during a pandemic when we know they won't be safe. Just yesterday, and Danielle referenced this earlier, in the Atlantic, early childhood policy expert Elliot Haspel writes that even in places where schools want to reopen, too many teachers are sick or quarantining for classrooms to operate, and substitutes cannot fill the void. Schools are not safe. Schools cannot stay open. If this speeding train does not stop, this will soon be our ASD reality soon. If forced to return to school, teachers and staff will become sick or even die. He cites many examples of this unfolding currently in the lower 48. Haspel urges schools to now only reopen K through 2 and SPED classrooms until all staff can be properly vaccinated. So to the superintendent and the board, I'd like to ask for a compromise. Send only teachers and staff who wish to voluntarily return back into K2 and SPED classrooms on January 19th. Hold off on forcing any other teachers or staff to return and opening any other classrooms until all teachers and staff have been vaccinated. After everyone has been vaccinated, let's reassess and see where we are. This is not only a just compromise, but it sends the right message to our children. We care about you. When you tell us you don't feel safe, we hear you. We are here for you. We will protect you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, I'm going to go up to speaker number 6, Jared Gardner. Jared, are you on the line with us tonight?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Gardner. I am the father of an elementary school student and husband of an elementary school teacher. I personally have struggled with how to think about returning to in-person schooling, and I recognize both that the interests at stake are hard to quantify and that there are a lot of unknowns, but I oppose the current plan to return for a few reasons, and I urge the school board to do the same. First, though there are a lot of unknowns, we do know that we are not out of the woods when it comes to the pandemic. The district has canceled plans to return a few times when cases grew and hospital beds ran thin. Now, numbers are currently down from the December highs, but we are not yet a week removed from the holidays, and with travel and holiday gatherings, all expectations are that case counts will increase again. Dr. Fauci explained just a week ago that we have to assume that it's going to get worse. And I think in his comment, he was talking just about the effects of holiday travel. He wasn't even addressing the new COVID strain, which looks to be about 50 to 70% more infectious. Second, though we are not out of the woods yet, with the arrival of vaccines, we can start to see where the trees end. So why are we rushing now before we know how this latest spike will look? Why are we not ensuring that our teachers and at-risk community members are vaccinated before we go back to school? Now, my understanding of the current drive to return is from the memorandum the board passed on December 15th, which spoke to the disproportionate effect of public health measures on school children who, and this is a quote from the memo, have borne a heavy burden of sacrifice for the community's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I frankly don't understand this rationale. There's a lot our community could have done better to control the spread of the virus, even by just regularly wearing masks and limiting indoor social gatherings and travel. But it seems backward to suggest that just because we didn't do enough to control the virus in some arenas, we should send our kids and teachers back into classrooms with each other. There's also a different element of inequity at play here. It's present in remote learning, where some students lack adequate resources to take full advantage of online learning opportunities, but it's also present in in-person schooling. where some students are part of communities that are more likely to suffer severe illnesses or deaths from infections. I don't feel really qualified to compare and balance those inequities myself, but one thing I know we all can do is listen to the voices from those affected communities. The Alaska Black Caucus, for example, opposes the return to in-person schooling on these grounds, noting statistics from the CDC showing that Alaska Native, Black, and Hispanic persons are about 4 times more likely to be hospitalized from COVID infections and almost 3 times more likely to die. Because of numbers like this, districts that have opened in-person schooling find that people of color keep their children at home at higher rates than white families. And in those circumstances, as would be the case with ASD, the available online options often drop in quality or they demand significant parental involvement. It just feels to me like we're really forcing this issue unnecessarily, particularly when vaccines will soon be more widely available. I hope you will reconsider this plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up, speaker number 9, Mitchell Page. Mitchell, are you on the line with us tonight?
This is Mitchell.
Hi, thank you for joining us. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
I am an elementary school teacher here in ASD, and I'm testifying today to oppose the return to in-person learning. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding this subject, and I want to use my time today to address the successes we've seen in small group tutoring, the vaccine, and the new national administration being sworn in just 2 days. I feel that the district has done a good job of creating small group tutoring sessions. These small groups allow for a much higher degree of control. For me, that is key in mitigating the spread of COVID in schools. Schools can socially distance 5 to 10 kids in a classroom. They cannot distance 20 plus students. I know that the most of the risk of the spread of COVID is in the community, and with mitigation strategies, it decreases the chances of spread in the school. While community spread remains high, we still run the risk of contracting it and having to close schools. Mitigation strategies are effective only when followed 100% efficiently, meaning that it only takes one mistake to potentially spread or contract COVID-19. Closed indoor environments allow for maximum exposure. 5.5 hours in a closed room is the perfect conditions for spreading the virus, a virus that has most recently mutated to be even more contagious. We're in Q3, and now we have 2 vaccines that have been approved and are being distributed. Everything is lining up to put an end to the pandemic. Mitigation strategies still allow for risk. Why are we taking the chance of spreading COVID when there is an end in sight? There are 2 vaccines that will protect people from this pandemic. It's my opinion that we should continue to look toward the safety and health of our community first and keep our schools and the online environment until there is widespread availability of the vaccine. In 2 days' time, there is a new administration being sworn into our national government. This new administration has stressed the importance of providing funding for schools and supporting schools and communities so that we can safely reopen in person. They have expressed that they have a plan to address the pandemic and help our country start healing. With an end to the pandemic in sight, it doesn't make sense for me to reopen schools. We should continue to support those most in need through tutoring in environments that can be highly controlled and successfully mitigated. We should wait until there is no risk to our staff and the students' health before we go back to in-person learning. Thank you very much for the time.
Next up is speaker number 10, Susan Ritter. Susan, are you on the line tonight? And Susan, if you can hear us, I believe it is *6 to unmute. All right, we will come back to Susan in a moment. Speaker number 11, Sharon Jackson. Sharon, are you on the line with us tonight? Again, that would be *6 to unmute if you're with us, Sharon. Okay. Do I have speaker number 12 in person? That would be Tony Biscup.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was either or.
Okay, I don't see her online, so that's why I asked if she was there in person. 13, Sarah Price. Is Sarah in the boardroom today? Is that her walking up?
Good evening, school board and superintendent. I am deeply disappointed in this school district and this board, and if I were in your shoes, I don't know how you could justify what anguish you are putting children through. Let me be clear. There has never been and still is not any scientific evidence to keep students out of school. You base your decisions on political pressures and fear, putting our safety and education last. I have been fighting to go back to school for 4 months now. I started with many eager students who helped, and we even developed a resolution supported far and wide. And you ignored us. But it must be easy for you to do so, because as students' mental health continues to deplete, many can no longer bring themselves to even stand up to the despair you are inflicting. And I don't need to cite sources for what I see happening to my friends, my classmates, and the students across this district. You must stop misleading the public by claiming you are reopening schools, because you have chosen to give up on nearly 20,000 of your students. Here's a graph of the Anchorage COVID cases. You wished for a flattened curve, and I may have been out of school for almost a year now, but even I can still identify shapes. The cases are plummeting. Our hospitals are relatively empty, and nearly all of your own guidelines are green. Board Member Holloman, you told me that if the community began to drive the numbers down and our hospital capacities began to open up, you too would push to send all our students back. Since then, cases have decreased 56%. COVID patients in the hospitals have decreased 50%. And Member Bellamy, you spoke to me of the importance of knowing when to pivot given new circumstances. We have new circumstances. President, you have acknowledged the silent majority who want to return, which is true in that 80% of our families were going to return when you gave them the opportunity. I know one of the topics you are most passionate about is choice in education. Both Member Marcette and Denali, you have been true heroes for education this year, as you have always supported reopening our schools. Board Member Hildy, you have been a leader in supporting the superintendent for every decision she has made to send students back, and I have faith you would do the same for secondary students. So Superintendent Bishop, clearly you have the support of the board, our community, and it is scientifically sound that schools are safe. So why are you choosing to let students suffer? This doesn't seem like something you know is best, because I know you care for each and every student. So tell us what's holding you back, and we can solve it together. I remember 4 months ago when I first started testifying, you released your first plan and gave 1 month until you were going to send students back. It's January 5th. Don't leave 20,000 children behind. Thank you and congratulations to the wonderful Denali Award recipients.
Next up, we're going to go back up to speaker number 10, Susan Ritter. Susan, are you back on the line with us?
I'm trying. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
We can hear you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Smartphones. How smart are they?
You got
Good
3
evening,
minutes
everyone.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Members of the school board, Dr. Bishop, school administrators, members of the Anchorage Education Association, and the Anchorage community. My name is Susan Ritter. I am a high school special education teacher, and I am a proud member of the Anchorage Education Association. First of all, I would like to thank all my coworkers for maintaining their professionalism and work ethic during these difficult times. Working during a pandemic is not easy, but my brothers and sisters of the Anchorage Education Association have done an outstanding job of educating their students. Some members of our Anchorage community, both young and old, have recently accused teachers of being members of the, quote, teacher mafia union, unquote. Initially, this turn of phrase sounded rather comical and humorous from a dark comedic point of view. However, after having the term teachers mafia union bandied about numerous times during past school board meetings, I felt this phrase needed to be addressed. Members of AEA are citizens of Anchorage. We are your neighbors, friends, relatives. We are not the enemy, and we do not wage violence against anyone. I'd like to show you or give you a couple of definitions of what the mafia is. The first is from Wikipedia. Good old Wikipedia. A secret criminal society from Sicily. A similarly conceived criminal organization in the United States, basically running drugs and narcotics. A group of people likened to the mafia. And from the, that was from Merriam-Webster. From Wikipedia, the mafia is an organized crime syndicate that participates in activities such as protection, racketeering, arbitrating disputes between criminals, and brokering and enforcing illegal agreements and transactions. So the mafia is a criminal entity that uses violence against people in order to gain an advantage of some sort. The mafia kill people. They murder people. Teachers are members of this community. We do not do those things. We are here to support our students. We are here to support our community. We look to our board and to our leadership to ensure that our students and our staff are able to teach in a safe environment. Please stop demonizing teachers. We want what is best for our students, and that is a safe teaching environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, speaker number 11, Sharon Jackson. Sharon, are you on the line with us tonight? Sharon, it's going to be *6 to unmute. All right, we'll try and come back to her. And this is the second time I see her on the phone. Just the connection isn't coming through. Still don't see number 12. We did 13. Don't see speaker number 14. Speaker number 15, Elizabeth McGee. Elizabeth, are you on the line with us tonight?
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hello?
You
Can
have
you hear me?
3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, you have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Bishop, and community members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Elizabeth Congdon McGee, and I'm speaking to you tonight as a school counselor with ASD. The main reason for my testimony tonight is the continued advocacy and education of the role of the school counselor, as it has been shared that we start moving forward with a safe reentry into school. Change is hard for all, especially our students and the families of students that will be returning. There is excitement, anxiety, uncertainty, fear, and some trauma experienced during this pandemic. Some of the issues that have been discussed during this pandemic that do affect us as school counselors is communication and mental health. It will be important for you to encourage administration to communicate with the school counselor, as we want to be proactive and solution-focused in our interactions with staff, students, families, and the community. Parents, students, and staff lean on us to make sure that information is given accurately and problems are worked through in order to help students progress and not fall behind. I know for a fact that the elementary school counselors in this district have been working collaboratively and proactively on putting together a reentry plan on how they can be utilized appropriately, safely, and productively when we return. As I have stated in many testimonies, school counselors should be spending 80% of their time in direct and indirect services with students, which impact all students. Communication will be key. School counselors will need to be able to direct families and help them advocate for the needs of their child. Mental health is another aspect that has been shared with the community and that many of our students and families may have experienced because of this pandemic. Although I have stated this before in my testimony as well, although school counselors play a big role in mental health, we are not therapists and should not be expected to do that in our role. I have had the privilege of sitting on the National School Counselor Position Statements Committee in the past and writing up-to-date position statements in which the role of the school counselor is addressed. According to the position statement of the school counselor and student mental health, it states, preventative school-based mental health and behavior services are essential. Without planned intervention for students exhibiting early warning signs, setbacks in academic, career, social, emotional learning development can result later in life and even into adulthood. School counselors are prepared to recognize and respond to student mental health crises and needs. School counselors address these barriers to student success by offering instruction that enhances awareness of mental health and short-term interventions to include small group counseling until the student is connected with available community resources. In closing, imagine a bridge with boardwalks extended out from the main bridge. Our district has phenomenal school counselors at every level that are the center of the bridge and are the connections to students, staff, families, and the community stakeholders that are the boardwalk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Speaker number 16, Kate Ladd. Kate, are you on the line with us tonight? Kate, if you can hear us, it is *6 to unmute. Okay, I don't know.
Hello?
Kate, are you there? You are. Thank
I am.
you. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, it takes me a couple times. All right. Thank you. Good evening. I'm a parent. I'm an elementary school teacher, and I would like to remind the school board and the superintendent that while we've seen a decrease in local and state COVID numbers, we will be heading into the classroom as the professionals predict, as we're going to be experiencing a rise in cases from the holiday break and possible travel. The most important mitigation strategy of distancing is just not possible in my classroom, leaving about 1 to 2 feet between students. Whether it is said or not, the first back in the building are the guinea pigs. If it goes well, they'll bring back 3 to 6. That is the definition of a guinea pig. While some children get very sick, others minimally, many not at all, we do know that they are vectors for this virus and spread it often without even knowing. I've repeatedly been offended and disappointed in the narrative that schools are safe. They may not be a super spreader for children, but we know that staff and students' families will be impacted. My own mother-in-law right now is fighting for her life in a hospital in Texas with COVID. Sadly, she contracted the virus from her very own school-age grandson, who was still playing on a basketball team and brought it home. My husband and children could lose their mother and grandmother when it could have been prevented. This is the reality of the situation. With the vaccine on the horizon, I implore you to hold off a little longer so that we can avoid the holiday surge and protect staff and our students' families. I also want to stress the importance of vaccinating all teachers that would like to. There should not be phases and tiers for school staff. All teachers that are going to be in close contact for 5 hours a day with 20 plus students should all have access to the vaccine if they choose before going face to face. At the very minimum, the first dose. I understand the older teachers are more at risk, but as one nurse told me, it's like playing Russian roulette. You don't know how it will affect one person to the next. A doctor told me of a patient around 40 who lost his hearing in both ears and vision in vision in one eye. Sorry. This is a vascular virus. It travels in the blood everywhere, and this is why we're seeing such a range of damage to the human body. Yes, your chances of dying are very small, but the lasting effects are still unknown. There are alternative options and missed opportunities to do this safely while also meeting the needs of the students. I believe that we should be having small group, morning tutoring with our high need students, and Zoom class in the afternoon while we're waiting for the vaccine rollout. Once all teachers have at least had their first dose, if not both, then we could begin the phase-in process. This would allow ASD to best serve all parties and help the community stay safer. This would also create a more continuity of learning for the families that are not comfortable with the return right now. As of now, many families wish to stay safe at home, but have to change teachers, classmates, platforms. This is a major roadblock for parents and absolutely disruptive for students. If you really cared for the well-being of the students, the school board would consider the major issues and create a plan that addresses massive inequity for families that want to remain online just a little longer. Please consider the professional opinion of teachers. Let's create small groups for the high needs students while all teachers have the opportunity for vaccines if they want it. I don't want one of my students going home and infecting their father or grandmother like that happened in our family. There's too much to lose. And please remember that the students are not failing, they're surviving a pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, speaker number 17, in person, looks like Keith Harryhausen.
It was a good try. Thank you.
I did my best. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours when you're ready. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bishop and school board members for your time tonight. I know that we are working in difficult times and that navigating this pandemic is not an easy task for anyone. Yesterday, I was stunned, and I don't use that word lightly, but stunned to learn that my school and 2 others are going to be bypassing the phase-in process for K through 2 schools and bringing back the full complement of their students. To repeat, that's from K through 6, bypassing the phased-in process. I'm a big believer in working through the chain of command when it comes to wanting to know answers to questions. And my questions today, I know will not be answered in this format, but I hope that someone will reach out to me and the colleagues in my school, to the colleagues in Baxter and Girdwood as well, who are also bypassing this phased-in process, and explain to us what is so unique about our mitigation plans at our sites that give you the right to strip us from any learning that might take place in the initial process of bringing these kids back to school. It is untenable. Absolutely untenable. My questions today were, is there going to be random testing of our students and population for K through 6? No. Is more staff going to be brought to our school to reduce our numbers? No. Has there been improvements in ventilation to allow this to happen, to bypass this learning process of this highly touted plan that we've been reading about and hearing about for so long? These were the words in an email we received today from you, Dr. Bishop. We look to get grades 3 through 6 back as soon as possible as confidence, quote, grows around our safety protocols and mitigation procedures, end quote. My school is not even being afforded that to roll out before the full complements of kids are coming back, K through 6. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. As a teacher, I am compelled to be responsible for the safety of my children first, the safety of the other children in the building and my colleagues. And in multiple times in our school, we've had situations where we've had to rise to the occasion. You are not even letting us do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just, oh, nope, 11 drove off. Okay, so speaker number 18, Heather Woolrich. Heather, are you on the line with us tonight?
Can you guys hear me?
We sure can. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Greetings and thank you. I am Heather Woolrich, and I've been teaching in the Anchorage School District for 21 years, serving communities from Mountain View to Bear Valley. It has been my greatest honor to serve the students of Anchorage, my fellow teachers, and I am a proud parent of 2 wonderful ASD students. While I know the pandemic has been difficult on everyone in every facet of daily life, I am encouraged by how my kindergarten students are learning and flourishing online. I am encouraged by the growth, camaraderie, and depth of community that I see within my colleagues. And I am looking forward to getting to teach my students in person when the time is safe. You see, I cannot wait to be with my students in the classroom. It is a truly magical place to be. But I do not feel safe going back on January 20th. While we have all been working so very hard to bring back a bit of normalcy, there is one thing that is missing: a vaccine for myself and all staff. I am not over the age of 50. I am a mother of 2. When we return, I will not be able to help my own children with their online schooling. I have only one underlying condition, not two, as required for the next tier of getting the vaccine. I am in the last group of our state's population to be eligible to receive the vaccine. I do have a child at home with underlying health conditions. I do not want to bring this virus home to her. I do work with wonderful kindergartners, but it is very difficult for 5-year-olds to social distance and maintain impeccable hygiene while being in the same room for 5 hours each day. And I do have a tiny classroom where 36 inches is the furthest apart any of us can get. I do have colleagues that will be vaccinated and will be continuing to work from home in their online environments. As a kindergarten teacher, I am not afforded this option. I am here to ask you to make one of the following choices. 1, delay face-to-face learning until all staff returning to those settings can be vaccinated fully. 2, lobby for the state to allow teachers returning to face-to-face settings to be vaccinated regardless of age or conditions. Or 3, allow teachers who are eligible for the vaccine and still working remotely to donate their doses to a colleague that must return to the classroom. Please know that I want so greatly to be with my students, but I also want to be safe and continue to live a life free of complications from COVID or the possibility of death. I want to be here for my family and my students. I want every teacher to have the option to be vaccinated before returning to face-to-face learning. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Our last speaker tonight is on the telephone, Celeste Hodge Groden. Celeste, are you on the line with us tonight?
I am.
You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Anchorage School Board and Superintendent Bishop. Thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight. I am Celeste Hodge Grouden, President and CEO of the Alaska Black Caucus. We are a nonpartisan organization that advocates for the rights of Black people and the BIPOC community in the areas of health, justice, economics, and yes, education. Members of the Alaska Black Caucus Committee on Education have been testifying regularly against reopening schools for good reason. Tonight, I join them in testifying against reopening schools until teachers, staff, and other essential ASD personnel are vaccinated and a secure reopening plan is in place. You already know communities of color, the BIPOC community, are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, experiencing higher rates of infection, hospitalization, and death, as well as economic and housing disruption. I don't need to repeat this because I know you've heard it over and over and probably tired of hearing it. But let me be clear. It's absolutely not time to pivot until a secure reopening plan is in place and our teachers, staff, and other essential ASD personnel are vaccinated. If you want to safely, securely, and reliably reconvene our students back in our schools, we must elevate the vaccination of essential frontline workers to include teachers and school staff. We all need to continue to work together to deliver on the promise of equity and justice for all. We need to keep equity and justice at the top of our list as we continue measures to limit the spread of COVID, protecting the most vulnerable among us while being mindful of those who have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Children, teachers, and yes, Black, Indigenous, people of color, lives matter too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to share that in the room here, we had someone come to sign up to testify that did not get on the list. And I would wonder if the board would honor one more speaker. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I'm seeing
or the
some thumbs
board
up
if
on
you'd
the.
like
I'm seeing
to
some thumbs up
entertain
on the
that.
screen. Yeah,
I
we can do
regret.
that.
Sorry about that.
Nope. In person, so have them come up to the podium, and we'll give 3 minutes.
If you could please state your name for the record. Oh, hello.
Hello, Senator Laura Reinbold. Thank you for the honor, and hi everybody online. The history of America, we've had many, many pandemics, roughly one about every 15 years. So it's really important that we look into the history. The AIDS pandemic is actually still going on now. There's no vaccine for that. And I never recall in the history, at least my history, of schools all being shut down, our economy being shut down. It has just been alarming, the response of what is going on. So I actually want to say thank you, board members, for considering opening up the schools. You all do take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And the Constitution says that the schools shall be open. I think that the shutting the schools down has been extremely detrimental, and I'm here to testify to please open up the schools. And I believe you can do mitigation efforts, and I think it's really important. Our children need to socialize. I subbed for many, many years, and I tell you, they need the interaction in the classroom. Many of them do. It's the preferred method for many parents. I do support homeschooling and things like that, but many Alaskans prefer the public school option. And I'm very concerned about, are the kids safe at home right now? There are probably many, most I would say probably are home safe, but there's many that there could be abusive situations. You guys probably would know more than any about the risks of those students at home. And I really believe that the Haven School is a haven for many of those students. And I think we're also putting an undue burden. I know I hear from the parents about they're trying to hold down their jobs. They're trying to get their kids are really suffering right now. And you all know that the online learning, many of them are not signing on. I talked to a lot of teachers and it's not working for a lot of the kids. So I really highly recommend that you get them back in the classroom with mitigation and reasonable ones. I think trying to keep kids 6 feet apart and wearing masks, honestly, I don't think the science is there, but I would highly recommend looking at the Healthy American and looking at that. Kids do well with COVID. They recover well. And even the adults that do catch COVID, there's excellent treatment options. If you look at doctors on the front line, they have an excellent options with ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and zinc. And I personally am far more afraid of the vaccine itself than I am of COVID. I worked in the biotech field. I worked in pharmaceuticals, and I was a district business manager for pharmaceuticals up in the state of Alaska. And I am very concerned with the mRNA vaccines. And I would highly recommend that you guys go to learntherisk.org. The mRNA vaccines are not the silver bullet for many of us do not believe. I think they're very risky and very experimental. So I just want to encourage you all, please, let's not make this about fear. I hear all this fear. Come on, let's make it about the kids. You guys signed up to educate our kids. Let's do the job. Let's uphold your oath to the Constitution and open back our schools. And I think we can do it safely. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. I didn't recognize you in your mask. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes our public testimony. On the agenda, we also have our written public testimony where most board members know, but just want to say it, for the community as well. I believe there's about a half a dozen or so written testimony that the community has submitted for us, that it is public out there on board docs. So encourage everybody to go out and read those. Next up on the agenda is the superintendent update. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Bishop.
Madam President and board members, I wanted to share that tonight's report will really expand on the information that was presented earlier in the work session to really provide additional guidance and support and support the board in understanding the plan as well as the public and where to get additional information. We're going to share tonight on a health services update. Much of the testimony talked about vaccines. We hear about testing, and Jen Petronis and Tom Roth are going to share a little bit about that. In addition, Our CFO, Jim Anderson, will update more on the COVID relief funding, allowing for additional board questions. And of course, Dr. Stock and his team will review any questions in regard to schools starting. So without further ado, I want to start with health services update. And Jen Petronis has been excellent in keeping us abreast of what's been going on. And one of the things that she and her team are doing, which actually I'm going to start with good things here, are really they're an essential part of the process of vaccination in our city, as well as in our school district. And she's going to share a little bit about our school district. But I just want to share with you some pictures of our school nurses who have been outstanding. So the first one was a nurse, inoculating another nurse here in ASD, and they were thoroughly trained and went through the process and understanding of the full day training. We used to be a little bit queasy around shots, but we are certainly happy that these came around. But our staff, if you missed on the news, our nurses actually volunteered and went around to different fire departments and helped inoculate first responders, or vaccinate rather. And so we're just so proud of them. And I really want to give them a shout out as the good things in ASD. We are certainly blessed to have our school nurses aboard, as well as their leadership of Jen Petronis. One of the things that she recently shared is that, once again, just so we know, the American Academy of Pediatrics shares that we begin with the default and the understanding that all of our goals should be to get kids back in school. And those disparities that we have seen and heard and really are experiencing with our own kids are simply exasperated as people have shared in the community. Those that struggle with food security, those that struggle with learning, those that struggle with housing. All the supports that schools offer really engage in those as well as the academics. And for this reason, to stop having that gap widen, school is essential to provide those services as well. And simply put, we have school nurses also to support the health and well-being. So thank you for that. And I'm just going to, that was a little ad-lib, but I'm going to turn it over to Tom Roth and his team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop, and through the board president. I'm just going to pass over to the Director of Healthcare Services, Ms. Jen Petronis, to give an update on the vaccine, as well as what the district is looking at with regards to testing. So, Jennifer, to you.
Thank you, Tom and Dr. Bishop. So COVID vaccine is here, and we are excited to announce that tomorrow we will begin our first round of vaccinations within the district. This includes phase 1A tier 3, which is the remaining nurses that have not yet been vaccinated, and some of our SPED members. We're also going to begin vaccinating phase 1B tier 1, which includes all of our staff and community members that are 65 and older. We have about 2,000 vaccines either here or on the way, with about 1,800 appointments, and most of them are getting booked up pretty quickly. And people are really excited, along with our nurses, who are very excited to start giving these vaccines to our own people starting tomorrow. COVID vaccine testing. We've also been working pretty hard all through the month of December to ramp up our testing capabilities throughout the district so that our staff, students, and families feel safe. So symptomatic testing is going to be offered at 11 different schools through different services. We have a vendor capstone that's going to be setting up in 5 of our school parking lots for walk-up sites. The school-based health centers are also going to offer testing at their 4 locations. We have Visit Health, who is going to do pop-up testing at 11 of our schools throughout the month of January. And we also have 2 of our Abbott ID Now machines for rapid testing for more of those cases where we need to know right now if they're positive or not. Also, working with the Muni, they're encouraging all staff and students who are returning to face-to-face learning to get asymptomatic testing next week so that they know before beginning back to school on the 19th if they're positive or not. And members can go to any established testing site that's published on the DHSS website and get that asymptomatic testing. They're really going to start advertising that, and staff and students will get priority next week for that testing. And that concludes my update.
Slide, please. Quick update on COVID-19 relief funding. I think all of the board is tracking that the legislature and the president followed with signing the latest relief bill. For K-12, as you can see on the slide, it's $54 billion nationwide, which is still over 4 times as much as the original CARES Act. Alaska gets about 0.29% of that amount, which is just under $160 million. At state level, they're allowed to keep 10%, and the rest will be distributed in accordance with Title I. So over the next week or so, we'll see the more details coming out as to how much Anchorage will get and some of the rules and strings associated with that. There, in addition to that $54 billion, there will be some additional increased funds, federal impact aid, many of the title programs, CITC, 21st Century, and others, and that information will also be coming out. Not large amounts at $10+ million for the whole nation, but we'll see how that plays out for Anchorage. The best part of this particular bill is that these funds can be used through September 2023. So it will allow us to look at efforts that will last more than just 1 year as we look at this. The original or the initial guidance coming out of Secretary DeVos's office is that the funds can be used to measure and address learning loss among students who are disproportionately affected by coronavirus and school closures. It'll allow us to focus on low-income students, children with disabilities, English learners, and other areas that the staff will be looking at over the next several weeks as we provide the recommendation on the use of these funds. It looks like there's going to be some expansion of potential uses in compared to the CARES Act, but we expect to see quite a bit of documentation. This bill was actually broken out into 12 appropriation bills, so it'll take some time to get all of the details. Some of the other highlights that will affect the community, although maybe not so much ASD specifically, is there is $10 billion in child care funding assistance. Those rules are coming out now, starting to see them flow down, and we suspect that money would go down through the government chains to the city. The $3.2 billion for subsidized internet services. If a family received free or reduced meals or they participated in the program, that would allow them to have $50 a month subsidy towards that over the next couple of years, and then $100 for providers who provide some lower rate options for people who require internet. In addition, the Governor's Fund has about $2.75 billion nationwide that has to be dedicated towards private schools. I suspect that we'll be involved with the distribution oversight role of that, but it will not come from our funds, unlike the original CARES Act. Pending any questions?
Okay, we can go on to the other piece and then have questions facilitated at the end. Dr. Stock, can you just share the highlights of our school start?
I will do that. Thank you, Dr. Bishop, and through the board and to the rest of through the board president, to the rest of the board. The board is looking currently at the flyer that went out to the public that has a lot of the details in it. So most folks are familiar with this. So the board did have an opportunity to ask a lot of questions in the work session. So I'll just hit a couple of highlights. The pre-K through 2, K-6, self-contained and Whaley School will be opening on January 19th. Grades 3 through 6 will follow thereafter once we get the mitigation and the logistics, make sure that they're all working well. And of course, you all are aware that the middle school and high school Select students will be starting on January 19th as well, and those families have all been contacted before spring break. We're looking at approximately just a broad estimate of about 1 out of every 4 students will be coming in face-to-face in those schools at the middle and high school level for some extra help to get caught up on courses. I would like to answer 2 questions that have come up. One came up in the public testimony as a question about some of the elementary schools that had grade levels that were not K2 coming back. And the flyer that went out describes this. It talks about select elementary schools that have unique programs that may bring back some additional students back along with pre-K2. Examples of that would be, we have schools that have combo classrooms where grades 2 and 3 are in one room together. Doesn't make sense to bring back only half your class with just second graders. So many of them would bring back the combination class as a whole to keep the class together. Other examples are various kinds of optional programs, various unique programs, multi-age classrooms, or even schools that have a lot of space and staffing where they could spread out more. There's just a lot of different things that might go into why a school might be unique. The other question that came up that has been common from the community that I'd like to address in closing is just this: what about families who are not ready to come back to school, but do not want to switch to ASD virtual? What are their options? And what I would say is that their option, if they do not intend to return to school for the remainder of this year, would be ASD virtual. We do have short-term options for families that are in flux for a few weeks or a while, or students that are quarantined due to illness. We do have some options whereby those families can access recorded lessons. We've got the entire second semester now recorded and planned out that matches up with the curriculum for those grade levels in the elementary anyway. And so those elementary families would have access to that during the time in which they're absent. But as far as a long-term option, it would be ASD virtual. And so that concludes my report.
And thank you. I appreciate the team as well as the school board. I know that we had presented this information, but knowing that our board meetings take into account full discussion, just wanted to provide additional time for comments and really public transparency of our plan and the other items that are timely. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. Did any board members have any questions on the superintendent report for Dr. Bishop or her team? Member Marset.
2 questions, I guess. The first one is, when we talk about the COVID vaccination for teachers when it comes about, or for our staff that are getting it now, are they able to get the one that gets the booster in 2 weeks, or are they having to do the one in 28 days? Is there a priority with that, or is it you just get what's available?
Through the board president, Member Marset, we ordered the Moderna vaccine when the booster is 28 days later. We do have a small amount of the Pfizer, which the booster is 21 days later. But due to the storage requirements for the Pfizer, we did not want to get it in large quantities. But if somebody really wants the Pfizer, they can request it.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is, when our students come back to school, and I've been reading a lot about, mental health and that sort of thing. And I'm not sure how we're proceeding with this, but we aren't necessarily looking at assessing students right away. And I think I've heard this before, but I just wanted to ask the question again about, are we just going to try to work on getting the children acclimated, meet their needs, and if there's any assessments that need to be done, could be done later?
Through the president to Member Marset, yes, our days are built in with engagement and learning and SEL. But there is a time that we're going to see what kids do know, because in order, our teaching is really informed by understanding what kids need to learn. And so we do need to assess. That doesn't necessarily mean a child's going to sit down with a piece of paper or a computer in front of them. Please know that teachers make assessments every 3 minutes. Right. They're determining what to do next in a classroom. and using their best judgment. And so in the larger term of assessment, I would say that that's happening daily and watching it, and it's happening right now while teachers are paying attention to their students online. But as far as formal assessments, no, we are coming back to learn. We're getting more engaged. It's going to be like the beginning of the school year, but we do need to understand what kids know and are able to do to teach them the next phase and the next that builds on to the next grade level in their matriculation.
Thank you. And I guess I just want to make a comment for those individuals that are deciding on what's best for the students. My grandson will be returning on the 19th, and so will my son's fiance's daughter be returning on the 19th. So we have two children that will be attending school in person.
Thank you, Member Marson.
Yeah, thank you. Next up in the queue is Member Donnelly.
Oh. Thank you, Madam President. Madam Superintendent, Dr. Bishop, the last meeting you advised the board the school district was going to contract with the Bond Educational Group for an equity audit. And I was wondering how much, my first question, or my two I'm entitled with, I was wondering how much that contract was going to be for.
Sure. We were going to put the details of that contract in the board newsletter this Thursday, but I can share it's a little over $30,000.
So, Dr. Bishop, I'd encourage you to do some additional vetting of this particular organization. I had the opportunity to listen to the CEO, Jason Otley, PhD, over the break since the last meeting on several podcasts. Some of the rhetoric is really concerning. There seems to be a lot of rhetoric, but very, very short on any constructive suggestions for reforms or solutions. Statements such as there's been an epidemic of prejudice, the racist policies run this nation, 400 years of slavery has marginalized the Black community in America. I mean, even with our Common Core math, I couldn't make that one work. But absolutely no response of any clear statement of proposed solutions or suggestions for action in very, very friendly inquiries being put forward to say, what can we do? And the only response was, well, we need to rewrite policies. And that's just not very convincing that this is a really helpful exercise utilizing an organization that their only suggestion for reaching some solutions to the challenges we're facing with equality in this nation is we need to rewrite policies. Given the opportunity to make solid suggestions, that's not something that I think is very valid to just throw that out there that generically. So I think we need to take a stronger look at the merits of contracting with the Bond Educational Group for this proposed educational audit.
Thank you for that feedback. And like any audit, what the audit does is really provides a baseline for where a district is. And so we're going to utilize this information to know where we are, how are our kids doing, what do we know as a staff, and what do we understand about our school district. The work that's to be done is really for us to decide, as well as the board. And the board has spoken through its guardrails and its goals, the importance of really all student success. And so what we're looking at is understanding about our students, about our employees. Have we met that mark? And then we're going to take a look, this third party, so it isn't ourselves judging ourselves, because sometimes, as you know, even from testimony, folks trust the outside more than they do inside, is to take a look at our baseline and then really work as a team, as a district, as a board together to reach and have plans for equity of access, equity of outcomes. Certainly, the audit isn't, or the auditor or the company isn't going to tell us what to do. That's really ASD's journey. And as you know, we've begun this journey. We've already identified through the College Board, which is a very outside organization, again, that already did an audit of our AP courses and the students' ability and who is missing out on AP, to take some action in that regard. We've also looked at our ability for our staff members to really progress into teacher leaders as well as other educators. And so we've taken some action in that area. So we're simply the company and the audit of the company will provide us a baseline. And I agree with you. It's not their job necessarily to tell us everything to do, because certainly we need to do what's right and what's right for our community and our people, and a good fit for ASD to move along that road, that journey to ensure that all students have success in life. And I'm really encouraged that I also want to be a good place for all staff members to feel that they're welcomed and that they can really do their best and strive. So I assure you that there isn't a company out there that can prescribe how to do something one way. There isn't a silver bullet. That might not be appropriate to say in school settings anymore, but it's not, there isn't a one way to do it. So I assure you, we will bring back our plan to the board. And certainly the board has already proposed its own policy. Administration hasn't done that. But thank you for your comments.
But Madam Superintendent, why would we entrust our audit, which will provide us with very important information, to work on these very serious issues, to an organization that's being led by somebody who couldn't offer a single concrete suggestion on how to address these issues when given a perfect opportunity to do so, and has exhibited some pretty fast and loose utilization of facts? Don't we want a real impartial audit, an audit that could really lead to progress?
I believe this can. We just have a difference of opinion. And Sonia Hunt, our senior director that works on compliance and equity, if you'd like to add in any information that you have from the organization.
To the president, to members of the board, thank you so much, Dr. Bishop. When we looked for, when we thought about what do we want from an audit, an equity audit, we looked at what is comparable to audits that were done in similar large districts. They were typically done by academics, people who were steeped in research, steeped in data finding, that really wanted to look at the culture of equity in a school district, look at the data in terms of things like the achievement gap or the opportunity gap, to look at what types of trainings were needed for staff on various levels. And so when we looked at what other school districts were doing, other comparable districts, this is what we found, and very comfortable with it. Dr. Otley, who leads the bond group, along with his colleagues that will be working on the audit, are academics and scholars in equity. And so that's the type of a knowledge base that we wanted to bring to the table.
And certainly, Member Donnelly, we will share the outcome of that with the board, and the board will work through this process with us. We'll be working on this right along with the board.
Thank you. Member Donnelly, did you have another question or?
Well, I guess it's not so much of a question as I remain very concerned about the utilization of critical race theory to develop policy in this school district. I do not think it's a legitimate academic exercise. I've, read the books that were utilized in the instruction class that the ASD participated in this summer. And I'm very concerned about they are not true academic products. They're really storytelling. It's kind of a pop culture. And it's very concerning if we're going to go down that path to conduct an audit. I think we need an audit that could be useful and helpful and constructive, and let's make some progress. But I don't think we're going to find progress from the folks in the critical race theory community.
Thank you for your comments. Next up in the queue is Board Member Holloman.
Thank you. Yeah, I was startled to find out we do have schools that are returning all grade levels. Are there other schools that are in between those three and some of the schools that were outlined in the return program? I'm kind of wondering what the status of all the schools is.
We can, through the two-member Holloman, through the board president, we can provide that. There are schools in between, schools that have, as Dr. Stock shared, a 2-3 combo or specialized program, a lot of our optional programs, because they have second through fourth grade or first through fourth grade. They've elected to bring that back. The decisions were made at the school level with school staff, not district staff, and their plans had their choice of grade levels brought back. So their leadership teams at their schools worked through those mitigation plans, and they're planning for schools together. And then they provided that and were really reviewed and explored by their supervisors, led by Dan Barker in the elementary school and Kirsten Johnson for secondary schools. So we can provide those. There are quite a few because, as you know, the choice in our district has many, many different choices for programs. Denali is a school that elected to provide their plan with the majority, almost all their students returning at their grade levels. Those that choose to go back to school. There's many that are choosing to remain online. So we will provide the board that list.
As a follow-up, I mean, to me, one of the big mitigation options that we had was the ability to use empty parts of the building. But also realize that probably none of these schools will have 100% students return. So if it can also include the expected student population that'll be coming back, that would be useful to know as well. If all the grade levels are opened up, but only 60% of students plan to return, then obviously there's still a lot of space for mitigation to spread kids out and do different things. But in terms of relaying to the public exactly what's happening, it would help to have that to be more accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great feedback. And our schools, as well as teachers, have done, just so the board knows and the public, virtual, tours of their classroom, where students will sit, what the mitigation looks like. We do have at different schools, really by choice of parents, there are, and even in individual schools, different classrooms. Some classrooms we're finding with 15 children, some upwards of 23 to 24. In those classrooms that have more children in them without additional space, curtains, those accordion walls to open up and things like that. That's essentially where they're utilizing those dividers that we made in hundreds and hundreds through Darren Hargraves and his team for those mitigation walls, if you will, those clear walls. So the teachers themselves, as well as the principals, have done walkthroughs, open houses, and video walkthroughs. So we can provide that information because at every school, every classroom, we did take a look because we are abiding by the emergency ordinance of 50% capacity of the fire code. And so that took place as well. So classroom by classroom, teacher by teacher, they were reviewed. But we'll provide that for you.
Next up in the queue is Board Member Bellamy.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. My question had to do with, my initial question had to do with whether or not we had kind of piloted that OWL camera. You know what I'm talking about? The one we used, have we piloted that or thought about piloting that in a classroom? so that kids, if there was a school where we had some kids in, some kids home, is it possible for us to maybe pilot how that might work in a classroom? So that was one of my questions.
Sure.
But my comment relative to the equity audit, I am absolutely in support of the equity audit. I agree. I compliment the superintendent for having the courage to do it. And I am challenging this board to have the courage to have the discussion, to leave your judgments at the door. You are entitled to your own opinion. You are not entitled to your own facts. So when it comes to issues of race, we have to keep an open heart and an open mind. This is not something that just started. Our data is absolutely clear. Our children of color are not doing well. All of our children are not well. And there are issues of race in this district. And either we are going to be non-judgmental and open-minded and stand with each other to find the answer. Nobody's going to come in this district and tell us what to do. But we need to start somewhere. So I look forward to the information that's going to be given to the board. I had not planned on discussing this tonight because I knew we were going to get some information in Board Connect. So I give the superintendent and her staff the opportunity, Ms. Hunt the opportunity to share what they want to share. And whether it's, CTR has been around for ages, and we don't have to like it. We don't. But at least be open-minded and hearted enough to listen, to see where the applications could be, and not just disband the whole process. So I look forward to going through that process with this board. It is not going to be easy. It is not. And no, the policy we have been working on now since September. I plan on continuing to work on it because we need it. We need it to guide the work in this district. The policy won't tell us what to do, but it would be the beacon to tell us how to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. And to reference the owls, we do have several of those in classrooms. Many classrooms are utilizing them, or rather schools. A couple of the issues are the cost of the owls. We couldn't outfit every classroom. And certainly one of the issues we found is that if we were to stream every classroom in every school at the same time every day, we don't have enough bandwidth to do that. So we would really be slow and shut things down. So the ability, we have the ability for everyone to do it, not certainly everyone to do it at the same time. And we found that that's one of the difficulties.
So if we could find maybe one like classroom or one school that might have a couple of classrooms that want to try it, I'm just intrigued by it. I mean, that little thing can follow your voice, and kids can see the teacher, the kids can see each other. I just think if it was possible, just do a little teeny tiny pilot.
There are some that are already doing that actually, okay. So we can share their work in that.
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Next up in the queue.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Next up in the queue is Board Member Mitchell.
Okay, I'm going to, hang on. I have been having trouble with my computer, so I've got the sound on my phone, but hopefully I won't cut out. So I am really excited about the new semester. I'm excited about the new year. I'm excited about the vaccine. I am concerned about some of the teachers and some of our staff who do have health issues, either themselves or with their families. I'm concerned about the fact that the prioritization of teachers is saying that initially we're only going to do 50 and above with pre-existing conditions. And I just want to go on record again saying that I really, really very much appreciated the back to school plan that was presented to us on December 1st. It allowed for a lot of flexibility for teachers and families and students who felt comfortable to come back in. It gave us a chance to get learning and to ramp up, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I am still concerned about going back into classrooms before we have teachers and families who need it vaccinated. So I think it's everybody's goal to get our kids into in-person learning as soon as possible. But I really, really appreciated that December 1st plan, and I thought it was wise and took into consideration a lot of different factors. I also just want to say, as we're embarking on 2021, I really I'm just so grateful to everybody, from the administration down to everybody, for the Herculean effort, the amount of work, the amount of changing, the amount of time that's gone into engaging students to do the virtual. So as we start transitioning back to in-person, I just want to again acknowledge the incredible amount of work and hours and effort and stretching boundaries and learning new things and all of those things. And our students who, just the connections that were made, the things that have happened have truly been miraculous. And I really want to commend everybody for that.
All right, I don't see any other board members' hands raised at this time. So we're going to go ahead, unless Dr. Bishop, you had any final thoughts you wanted to share. Otherwise, we will continue on the agenda.
No, thank you, Madam President. That concludes my report. Appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. Next up is the consent agenda. And Vice President Bellamy, if you would kick it off for us.
Surely will. Thank you. I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of Memorandum 017, the personnel report, regular session minutes from October 20th, 2020, and regular session minutes from November 3rd, 2020.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Katie, if you would please do a roll call vote.
Member Mitchell.
She's got her thumb up.
Member Marset.
Yes.
Member Holloman. Member Hildy.
Yes.
Member Donnelly.
Yes.
Vice President Bellamy.
Yes.
And President Vacalis.
Yes.
Oh, whoops.
And the consent agenda passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. Next up are our action items. We only have one item on the action agenda. And Vice President Bellamy, if you could.
Absolutely. I move to approve the expulsions of the students associated with ASD incident numbers 1321691 and 1321700 as discussed in executive session.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Katie, if you would please do a roll call vote.
Member Donnelly.
Yes.
Member Hildy.
Yes.
Member Holloman. Oh, I wasn't looking at the screen. Was that a thumb? Member Holloman, was that a yes?
Yeah.
Sorry. Member Marset.
Yes.
Vice President Bellamy.
Yes.
Member Mitchell. Did we lose? Is Member Mitchell not online right this moment?
No, she's there.
I'm sorry. I said yes.
She's got her thumb up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that. Thank you. And President Vacalis.
Yes. And uncontested student hearings passes with 7 yeas and 0 nays. At this time, we are at the non-action item of part of the agenda. Are there any items that board members wish to pull? All right, not seeing any hands up, so we'll go ahead and keep on going. It is our second opportunity for public testimony, and I do have one that joined us that was not able to connect earlier. Speaker number 14, Amy Holonix. Amy, are you on the line with us tonight? Can you hear us, Amy? Working on it. I see it going back and forth on the mute and the unmute, but right now it is muted. *6.
How about now?
Perfect. We can hear you. Thank you. You have 3 minutes and the floor is yours.
Okay, good. Hi. I imagine. We can hear you. Thank you. You have 3 minutes and the floor. Oh, I'm listening to my computer. I got to turn that off. Sorry. I imagine you're tired of hearing from me. I'm tired of hearing from me, but I have no choice. I want all of us to come out of this alive. We're all connected, so I'm still here. But guess what? There's 2 new players in the game. One is on my side. Yes, our ship has hit an iceberg. Yes, it's sinking, but here is hope, the vaccine. Teachers in Alaska from as far as brevet mission to Sitka have already been vaccinated. My friends, healthcare workers and elderly have too. Hang on, let's stay in the lifeboat. The ship is coming. Nationwide, we see a movement calling for teachers to be vaccinated before returning to school. A safer return will be consistent for our kids. We will still teach with masks, stand 6 feet apart, be adamant about safety, but we will be vaccinated. You can't open schools without teachers. Use this energy you have for opening classrooms to get vaccines into our bodies. Demand it. Do it for these kids. I've been denied a virtual job and an ADA request, even though I'm 59 and high risk, so I'm still here. Unfortunately, I'll be used as a sub for every class in the school. Like a fool, I believed ASD when they set safety parameters in the summer about COVID levels and reopening. I regret not taking leave, even though I love my job, and despite the financial damage it would have done. I've taught through many illnesses, but I can't teach through this. I can't risk it for a district and community that reduces me to nothing, denies my health requests and my safety, and gives me no concrete data and when I'll get my vaccine. There's no glory in becoming a headline in this fight. The effort to open January 19th should be reevaluated now that vaccination has begun in our community. ASD should shift focus on getting teachers vaccinated before you open doors. Align vaccinations with those of us going in for the first face-to-face trial period. K-2 elementary teachers should be offered the priority as soon as possible. Postpone until this time. This latest info is so confusing. I said there are 2 new players. One is the vaccine. It's on our side. The other is not. It's the mutant variation that is more transmissible and possibly more harmful to our children. We need to be more conservative in protecting them. This highly transmissible variant wreaked havoc in Great Britain, causing the country to lock down, shut schools, and close borders. It's already in at least 4 U.S. states, putting our youngest and most medically fragile students face to face while the variant is spreading in our country is reckless. We need to stay virtual, reevaluate, and vaccinate. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do not see the other possible speaker that was going to join us, so I'll reach out and see if she wouldn't mind submitting a written testimony. Next up is school board and administration comments. And are there any board members or administration that have any final thoughts that they would like to share for the night? Member Marcet.
Of course I do. Sorry. So, Dr. Bishop, how many teachers do we have employed with the school district that are have contact with children, aides, teachers, that sort of thing? How many would you say we have employed?
we go. I have to remember which one to use. We have, it depends. Teachers, aides, that work with children. At least 4,500 to 5,000 people work directly with students every day in classrooms.
Okay, so for 4,500, and it's not that I'm trying to discount the testimony that we've heard tonight, but it's not 4,500. And I have to believe that most of our teachers are willingly going back to school, knowing that ASD has done everything to mitigate the risk associated with COVID. I'd also just, I wouldn't ask our teachers to do anything I wouldn't do myself. So starting on the 19th, I will be in schools. I've had several invitations from teachers to join their classes, and I plan on accepting those invitations. I truly believe that we are doing the right thing for our students. And I understand why there would be fear. I have diabetes and other things also, but I do believe in what we're doing, and I will be there. Just so you know that I would never ask a teacher to do something that I would not do. And I do support our teachers. I think they do a tremendous job, and I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up in the queue is Member Bellamy.
I just want to do a shout out to Katie Grant. Katie, for those of you who do not know, she is the wind beneath our wings for this school board. And I don't know how she does it, but she manages to always have a smile, have everything ready for everybody all the freaking time. And Katie, I just want you to know that we appreciate all that you do. And I am inspired by your tenacity, your attention to detail, and I thank you. And I actually really do love you.
Hear, hear.
So, thank you.
Yes.
And the other thing I'd like to just share is that the Anchorage Pub, it was in our Board Connect, but I also have been trying to get my own book club together for the Anchorage Reads. They're bringing back, the Anchorage Public Library is bringing back Anchorage Reads program. And so in that program, the community involves itself in literature, in reading, through book clubs and sessions at work. And so I just want to give a shout out to them and encourage people. If you want to be on my book club, just send me an email or a text because I want to do a book club around the They have one book that they've selected for students. I don't have that with me now, but they also have the second book, which is for adults. And that book is by, it is entitled Stamped from the Beginning, A Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. And that is put on by the Anchorage Public Library. And I look forward to participating in community discussions around literacy and civic dialogue. So I just wanted to put that out, but it's in our, you can look on their website, but it was in our Board Connect this last time. And my final announcement, which I wanted to announce at the beginning of the meeting, is the Alaska Children's Trust is going to hold a Vote for Kids mayoral forum. And somehow, and they are looking for organizations who would like to partner with that. They're not supporting anybody. It's informational only. So I just wanted to share those 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up in the queue, Member Donnelly.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. And follow up on Member Bellamy's information there. I think she's absolutely right. We need to be open-minded and listen as we deal with these important issues. As we heard last summer, two particular books were utilized in developing an educational class for our instructors, I believe. One was How to Be an Anti-Racist, and the other was White Fragility. I was lucky to get copies of those and read those and took a lot of notes while I read them. And I'm really looking forward to any kind of a public discussion regarding those two works. I totally agree with Member Bellamy that it's good to be non-judgmental and open-minded. But for the Anchorage School District to be hiring someone who is anything but that to conduct an audit is simply wrong. When you have an audit, it's all about being fair, impartial, and neutral, and not having a outcome determined before you conduct your audit. And I think the track record of the company that we are proposing to hire is the exact opposite of that, as I think I proved with some of the direct quotes from the CEO of that company tonight. Yes, I do recognize that critical race theory has been around for some period of time, but there's a lot of erroneous theories that have been around for a long time, and it doesn't make it legitimate or right. And so I think we need to really be open-minded and have a frank discussion about the substance of critical race theory and the merits of it and its faults, because there are very significant gaps in its efficacy and its lack of being really an academic area. It seems mostly based on storytelling and just predetermined assumptions. And so I really look forward to having that discussion in an open-minded way in that debate.
Mr. Denali, I welcome you to my book club.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing this. Next up, Board Member Mitchell.
Hi there. Yeah, when Member Bellamy mentioned something she said triggered my memory. The Alaska Association of School Boards has opened their 30th annual June Nelson Memorial Scholarship. They will be giving away 15 scholarships statewide to graduating high school seniors for $1,500 each. And I encourage any ASD senior who is interested in continuing on to post-secondary of any type of education to apply for that. You can get that information at AASB, Alaska Association of School Boards.org. So the application period closes on March 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing any other board members' hands up. I don't see any other administration hands up. So just letting folks know our next board meeting is January 19th, coincides with the first day of back to school. There are committee meetings between now and then with governance and communications next week and finance just prior to our January 19th meeting. And I believe those are all the updates I've got for everybody. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Happy New Year, too.
Yes, everybody have a happy New Year. We'll
be a great
see everybody in a couple weeks. Yep.
All right. Thank you.